Okay, what is going on, everybody? This is obviously the first one of these I've done in a little while, but ask and you shall receive. And I'm actually kind of excited specifically about these fellas right here. So this is we're going to do some painting for Wave 2 of Halo Flashpoint. Now, if you see me looking over, I've got my chat over here, so I'm just trying to keep an eye on it, and then all my other stuff's being kept over here. So if you see me looking around, that would be why. But the Wave 2 Spartans are all of these guys, and technically this little Cortana as well. So actually, let me swap these so I can see a little bit better. Okay, so the Wave 2 stuff is these 8 guys right here, and then our little Cortana for our little score tracker, which I've already quickly thrown this together. I do think I want to indicate colors in here somehow, but I don't know if I want to paint them just straight red and straight blue. So this isn't completely done, but it's mostly done. And that was just a quick and dirty silver spray paint, really, with a black wash, and then picked out some black with some acrylic really quick just to get the effect that I wanted. This little fella, I don't really know a quick and dirty way I want to do this. I've got an idea, but I don't know how to paint her because I don't want to glue her to anything, and because I can't stick them to their feet, they have a tendency to want to wiggle. But let's see. None of those are really good candidates. What's up, Z? So we might reassess how to stick this to something to paint it. I don't like this. But all of these guys will be gotten to on a different point in time. I think the main thing that's interesting here is that most of them do just look like this. Obviously, these are all primed and zenithal and ready to go just for ease of use. But specifically is the head swaps on some of these. I think this one worked really, really well. He actually reminded me of Carter from Reach, so he's going to get the Carter treatment. He's going to be blue and gray, I think. That's primarily what we're going to do today. This one, I think, kind of works. It's a little weird, but it kind of works. It's a little bit more of a loose thing, and then this one, I think, worked well enough. These are, I think all 3 of these actually are Age of Sigmar heads. There was, I think, 1 or 2 more Age of Sigmar heads. I may have messed up one of them. I kind of wish I had more female heads because I wouldn't mind having some more female Spartans, even though none of these are really female bodies, but they're in armor. It doesn't really matter, does it? And then I painted this guy up yesterday for those of you who are interested in the Elder Scrolls stuff that we're somewhat working on. I still got to add snow to the bases, but I figured I'm just going to wait till I get a bunch of stuff painted because it's kind of hard to mix up like small batches of that stuff. But we're going to start with this guy. I think I want to paint him more or less the same way that I did my original stuff, which is going to be to very sloppily base coat basically all over this thing the colors that I want, dry brush the thing, and then just straight black speed paint over the black portions. And a tiny little bit of the color might read through that black, but it should be fine. So let me pull up a reference of our boy. Obviously, I'm not going to go for like a shot for shot of what Carter's stuff is, but I just want a general, so like gray arms, gray shins, blue chest, probably go blue biceps. Okay, so let's start with, actually we'll just start from the bottom up. Let's go gray first. And if you hear that, apologies, that is my little paint mixer. I don't really know how well this works, considering these bottles are flat, but there are times you catch it just right and you can actively watch it get mixed. So we got our trusty foot. And this is Ashen Stone speed paint. And this is, I'm just going to use straight out of the bottle. I'm not going to thin this at all. And so just gonna slather this all over basically everything that even might be gray. And all of this will get a dry brushing, which will help with some of that detailing. And then we'll go back and pick out the black. This is just kind of what I landed on when painting that original Spartan set, because there were so many of them. And I am a painter of effective, what would you call it? A nice balance of speed to quality. I'm not the best painter by any means, so I'm mainly looking for a product that I'm happy with in a amount of time that doesn't take 18 years. I'm okay just taking my time and poking away at stuff, but stuff like this where I've got, like, I know there's 7 more of these guys waiting to be painted. I kind of am looking for an effective way to get them all done. And I think the first one of these, I tried to be a little more picky about painting like the specific armor bits, and it just took ages for no real benefit to how I was going about it, so I'm just not worried about it. And some of this you guys just aren't going to be able to see super well. I do still have this zoomed in. I'm still using the little box on my desk as a reference, so hopefully that's helpful. I might do some sort of wash over this before the dry brush, possibly. Not sure on that one. Glob this on and then spread it where we need it to go. Soak up some of this that's extra. And specifically because I feel like this gray is not super dark, but it might be just fine, honestly, once we get it all together. So we'll wait and see. Also, I think I want to do the center bit of this little cod piece gray and the back of the cod piece. Little kidney plate kind of thing. Hit that gray and then we'll do the sides blue. And I think this shoulder we want gray. And this is the kind of painting that I extra like, because I think everybody can paint like this. we might, for the sake of asymmetricalness, might do this shoulder over here blue, or let's just mix it up and do half of it gray. Why not? I'll be curious to see if Mantic releases like multi-part kits at some point, where you can like fully build out your own Spartan kit, essentially. But that would have to be like, I wonder if they would do that like a one-off, kind of like Master Chief, where it's like more of an elite Spartan, so he takes up like more slots or whatever, but then they could warrant charging a little bit more since he's just the one guy. I don't know. Once we get all this on here, I am going to base coat this Cortana, just to chip away at some progress while we're waiting for some stuff to dry. I think for this blue, I'm going to use this High Lord blue, but I am going to thin it a little bit because it's, I don't know, something about using that paint that's just leading me to want to put a little baby bit of speed paint medium in it. So that's going to be a 2-to-1 ratio for this High Lord blue. I don't know if that's going to get me where I want to go, but that's definitely where I'm going to start. Which also, part of while we're doing this, is because it was asked for, if there is anything... I don't do the painting streams as much these days as I was there for a little while, but if there's anything you ever do want me to paint specifically on stream, you just ask and let me know. Typically, I just try to fit it in where I can get it between doing the other stuff, and that's just where it goes. But this kind of works out because it helps me pace and not get super overwhelmed with some of this stuff. But I do have a bunch of Elder Scrolls stuff that I'm going to need to get to here soon. So like, yeah, we're just gonna go all over this. I was like half considering being a little careful, but you know what? Only places I'm gonna be super careful are where these pieces meet each other. That's because they're already painted. And I very well may regret this decision to paint this like this, specifically because I thinned this blue down a little, and I think the last time I used it straight. But I feel like, historically speaking, that Grim Black's pretty good at covering up the hue of whatever's beneath it, but we are going to find out. Something to note with these speed paints is it's obviously harder to go back and clean up edges and stuff because they're transparent, so kind of worth slowly edging around some of these pieces, just because probably won't be able to match that color super well. Paint up here blue just out of the sake of ease. Basically, just hit all of that. This is kind of part of where you end up spending a lot of time, or in my perspective, wasting a lot of time. Trying to be like super neat, that I just found was not really worth. Covered up part of that, so I'm just going to go ahead and cover up the top part of that. I probably won't paint this energy stored on stream, just because you guys have seen me paint energy sword before. But we'll see how long it takes me to get there. Well, that's just gonna be a little heavier, but that's okay. A lot of kind of weird stuff will get mostly worked out by the dry brush, which another reason that we like it, because it helps cover stuff up. So that is my cue to close this door. So, for the sake of consistency, paint this. I'm gonna grab all of this, which this part of the sculpt is a little not great, but okay, we'll kind of just make it whatever we want it to be. And that's more or less what we're looking for. So I do want, I mean, the black will help break that up once we get that in, but I do kind of wish there was a little bit more color diversity between the bits. It's like the center of the chest needs some gray, so we might go in and put in some gray, but we'll come back to that. This helmet, which I will probably go in and punch in the visor white specifically before I put any color over it, just because it'll be a little easier. I'm trying to paint around this, and then the visor's not really super bright anyway, so it wouldn't be obvious, and I feel like it should be obvious. What we're gonna do, and we could go in and black out the bottom of this once we're done. So this guy needs to sit for a second. Oh, no, we still got to paint the top half of that shoulder pad. Almost forgot. now we let that sit. And honestly, now that I painted that blue, I kind of don't love it. Pop half of that shoulder pad, but oh well. So we're gonna let him sit. I want to try this color. Thinned a little. Or a lot. We might go 50-50 here actually. And just go all over this model and see what kind of baseline that gives us. I don't really know. Kinda. Let me see. A little bit of this guy on here. I think there's going to be enough surface area here. I love that. Let me see if this works at all. Nope, not deep enough, I don't think. Just a little too shallow. That'll work, I think. We just need a big old boy to slather all over this thing. Let's go with... I feel like that's almost too green. Maybe we go with this color, magic blue, and thin it a bunch. Try 2-to-1. We're gonna go one more just for safe. Obviously, it's kind of hard to tell in this foot before it goes on anything what it actually looks like, but now we just gotta literally speed paint all over so it's nice and cohesive before stuff starts to dry a ton. And try to keep her mostly upright, but you know, hard to reach all of this stuff. I'm just trying to make sure that everything mostly got hit, and I think we caught most of it. And I think that actually landed me a little dark on camera, I think, for y'all, but I think that landed me almost right where I wanted to be. I'm gonna cover this also. I know this model has some dark spots, which we will address, but for just a general starting point, or even your finished product, I think this is a nice, easy one-coat solution, actually. Good Lord. Little water thing emptied over here. Okay. So, we're just gonna let her dry. I can't get trying to clean out a little bit of puddling around her eye, but it might just be the sculpt. I can't really tell. So he's just going to exist over there. I think that looks good the way it is. Honestly, a white dry brush over that, I'd probably be perfectly happy with it. So, this guy, we need to decide what gray we want to put. And then we could do the dry brush. I'm trying to remember, probably just wait, or if we did black before the dry brush, but I think just for the sake of it, we will do the dry brush and then do the black. So we need some gray. Now, I don't really have a gray, again, that's going to be close to this, but certainly try. To mix a gray up. So this is definitely not a perfect match, but it's definitely close enough. Once it's all done, I don't think I'll really notice. take out these two little things on his chest just to introduce a little bit of gray. And come back in and try to redefine these little points. And I think that'll be a good enough starting point for when we introduce the rest of our stuff we got going on. Still don't love his right shoulder, but we'll come back to that. But for now, dry brush. Because I kind of like the gray where it's at. Not to say that it couldn't improve with a wash, but it could also make it too dark, and I like the tone that it is. So we're just gonna go straight for the dry brush. And we're gonna give this just a second to dry. I'm not super worried about it because it's so little. You're gonna use this little baby dry brush. Dry brushing is always a little weird to find the amount where it's going to be visible and not so much that all your stuff just ends up kind of messy. And it always kind of changes. I'm sure some people get really good at it and being kind of consistent, but I am not one of them. Kind of want to look for edges to drag across. You get the best effect. Like to try to use the edges of the base to get a kind of an idea of what my paint's going to be doing. This is definitely something I'm not super great at. Definitely still overdo it a lot, but only way to improve at it is to do it. And I would say do it with purpose. And don't just start like jabbing your brush at different parts of the mini, because then you'll end up blowing out portions of it. Actually look for your edges, look for what you're wanting to highlight specifically. Probably go a long way. Even trying to highlight inside the thighs a little bit, just to redefine those three kind of like white lines on the underside of the thing. So when we put the black over it, that'll show through a little bit more. Thing that I remember from the first pass at Spartans painting. Work and kind of see how quickly that gets you most of the way to where you're trying to go. Still got some parts drying on it. Let's start punching in some black on this. Now that we've got a lot of our base stuff, and this has only been, I would say, what, maybe 30 minutes on this guy. Now this is where it gets a little tedious. So I'm not thinning this down at all. This is just straight grim black speed paint. That other thigh is kind of a weird one. As far as how this undersuit it is sliced, but also noticed on a lot of these that specific portion of like the inner thigh gets a little squirrely on the sculpts. I'm just gonna punch in a bit of this that I want. That's just fine. Also, a lot of this blacking in portion that you could probably skip and it not really make a difference, especially if you're not painting for any competitions or anything. More of a, I want to say it's like a compulsion for me, but it's just something that, like, I feel like I need to paint portions of it. But then there's just some stuff I will purposefully not paint because I know you'll never see it. I guess it's more stuff that I think you could see if you looked. But I feel like I need to paint. But I also think this blacking part is part of where a lot of this starts to really come together. The reason some, I think, tournaments require you to have 3 colors painted on your models, because it's just 2, it looks a little weird. The second you introduce a third, it looks finished. And these are different Spartan shoes than the original set, I think. Or they're supposed to be the same, but the original sculpts were just mushier. I feel like they're different because I kind of don't want to paint any more of the shoe, but a lot of the shoe is black on the first sculpts. We slice a little bit of extra black into these just for contrast's sake. Not even going to try to get to the inside of that because that is an example of something that probably doesn't matter. I think this whole thing here is going to be black, but I'm going to come back to that, I think. Just move up the list here. Typically all of this should be black, but I feel like leaving a little bit of it blue. part of this sculpt is a little weird, so I'm almost just kind of visually shaping with paint what I think I want this stuff to look like, because on some of these sculpts it's kind of hard to tell. I think if you really wanted to spend the time, you could decipher it, but like up in certain portions, like up under this chest plate, it just doesn't matter really. So I just kind of block that in the way that I want it to look, and that is just fine. Yeah. This looks a little uneven on the sides, so I'm just gonna cover it up. So that it is the same. Now, tackle this arm here. Get probably the most tricky part out of the way, just because these sculpts, especially up around the shoulders, kind of leave a lot of the imagination with some of these. I think these are all based off of Infinite, and Infinite has a lot of these like kind of gray pads on the shoulders. I think I punched in some of those on my originals, but that's okay. There's this extra little lip right there. I'll just leave that, I think. And now I gotta, like, this elbow is a bunch of mush. I don't know if that translates for y'all super well. I don't really know where to block here, but there needs to be some black to distinguish a break in the armor, so we're just gonna paint in our own little spot, and we'll just leave the elbow kind of connected to the forearm. But that's our break in the elbow portion. Tackle this hand. And a whole lot of space for a break from the hand to the forearm, because it looks like this is kind of a double wide kind of thing, but we want to try to get a little teeny tiny bit in there just to get the point across. Oh yeah. Now I'm excited to get his face painted. See it come together a little bit more. I did see, I think I originally saw a screenshot or a picture that was posted in the Flashpoint Reddit of somebody putting like a head on a Spartan like a few weeks ago, and that was kind of what it was like. You know what? I think I will, just so they're a little more interesting. That top lip is another example of something that probably could be part of the colored armor bits if you want, but I'm just gonna block it in anyways. Ooh. Bring that down to where that bicep armor starts. Most of the shoulder portion. Now we just gotta slice our elbow, which it actually looks a little bit more split on this one. His arm's bent, so maybe we slice top and bottom, and so like in there, we're never gonna get anything in there, so we'll just move on. Be careful around this handle. Want gray. Not that that's really gonna come through by the time it's all done, but okay. You're not really gonna see anything under that, so that's good. I do want some gray on the helmet. I think that's all the black. Oh, well, no, we gotta check around his, kind of around his neck, actually. And this, considering this is get bashed kind of situation we got going on here, I gotta be a little careful and a little infurative, because I am painting made up space. We're gonna put some black down in here just to make it a little bit more interesting. That's about all of that you're gonna be able to see. I'm tempted to paint his neck black. I'm going to, just because he would have a neck seal. We'll just blend all this in. Which that's mainly going to read on one side anyways, so. And I think he's going to have black hair, but we're going to come back to that after painting the skin tone. Which I might try a different skin technique, or a different method. And I gotta check this. Let's paint this black, actually. I think I want to punch in those little straps gray as well. So this, we're going to mix up a little bit of gray again. And I want to punch in a little bit of gray on the helmet. One side's all you're gonna see. And little straps. Which again, you could certainly add more than what I'm doing. Oh, people spend hours and hours and hours and hours on these things. But I am not. And I guess actually while we're here, a little bit of this white. Just to punch in where this visor is going to be. I'm not worried about it being perfect, so that'll get covered up with an orange probably, I'm thinking. Right, I'm just gonna base coat that visor. Okay, skin tone. Now, I bought some Reichland Flesh Shade, which I've tried a couple different contrast paint colors for various different things. And then I've tried doing kind of like a 3-tone thing with these, and I don't love it. Actually, let me grab him. So his face, which I very hastily did, was just base coated with ruby skin and then flesh shade over it, because flesh shade's kind of dark. But I'm kind of thinking maybe we go for a darker skin and we just try barbarian flesh with a Reichland Flesh Shade and see what that gives us. What we're gonna do get a little bit of this. Also got a scar on his face. I'm using this little baby brush again. My thinning is not great. Sometimes I feel like I nail it, and a lot of the times either too thin or too thick. This is, I feel like, definitely erring on the side of too thin, but better than the alternative. that settle for just a second before we put on another coat. Let's take a look at our Cortana. So I guess I need to look up, because I'm really happy with that color actually. But I need to look up specifically what coloring she has for the dark spots. I know there's like some spots on her legs. I think her hair is dark. Good picture. That actually looks like exactly what they sculpted this on. Okay. Oh, there's actually a lot more dark on here than I thought. I don't really want to do all that, so I'm probably not going to do all that, but we'll do the basis of it at least. And I think we do here. It needs to be a dark light blue because it's kind of a weird effect we're going for. We could just double up coats, but that seems lazy. I think could just do an unthinned version over top of this. That might not read the way that I'm expecting it to. So I'm thinking we thin down this navy and give it a go. This is Tyrian navy. Go a 2-to-1 drop ratio for this. Again, I'm not looking for a perfect representation. I'm looking for an approximation of this character. This is just a round counter. So, you know, not super important that it looks super great, to be honest. You don't even have to paint the dang thing. But we're gonna at least we'll give it a little something, just because all of this kind of stuff does add to the game in some way. But I can't really see. Almost could have been thinned probably 1-to-1 instead of 2-to-1, and you probably would have got still just as fine of an effect, but might end up just doing 2 coats of this, to be honest, because it kind of depends on what our end product looks like, because it doesn't. Like, it reads that it's darker, but it doesn't also at the same time. Kind of weird. Okay, check my. Okay. Bottom. I'm gonna assume, I'm not gonna look at references, but looks like a good dark spot. Bottom half of the forearms. I am definitely trying to hastily but somewhat cleanly block in these dark spots because, again, I don't think it matters. But I also know that the second I start trying to do this super quick, I will mess it up pretty badly. Okay, I think that's good. I feel like I don't want to do anything on the collar just because it's also little. But we'll put this on the hair as well. Oh, appreciate you, parakeet. Parakeet? Parakeet. Thanks, man. Block this in real quick. Speed paint. Similar to normal paint, but even more so. Gotta kind of speed around and get it all connected so that it can all settle as one kind of piece. Think. That is a fine. I'm gonna block in the back of her knees just so it's not completely barren back here. But yeah, I think that's good. I think that I'm gonna do probably some dry brushing a little. I'm gonna be really careful with it. But the kind of haziness you might get from dry brushing might actually be just perfect here. But yeah, that for quick and dirty, almost no effort paint job works super great for me. Back to this guy though. I need like somebody to sit down and walk me through how to paint faces, like the traditional layering way. Man, I feel like I've watched and tried a handful of different things and it just doesn't ever seem to click quite right. I would like to be able to paint faces really well. And I think you could almost paint, I'm gonna have to clean up that neck seal. I almost feel like you could paint something pretty poorly, but then if you paint a rather competent face on it, it'll look really, really good. So. Clean up that little bit under the neck there. I do kind of feel like the gray parts could use like a brown wash or something just to give it a little bit of something. And I'm going to go back in and actually hit this little pouch with a dry brush within reason once I dry brush that Cortana or weapon, whatever. Love me some Skittles. Actually, what we can do while we wait for this stuff to dry for a second, plop some orange into this visor. I don't know what kind of orange I want. This, I feel like kind of looks like what I'm looking for, so I guess we'll see. Yep, more or less. We're either gonna ruin this thing or we're gonna make it a little bit better. Use it on this. Trying not to hit that hand a ton just because the rest of it's not hit. That's a messy hit, but okay. That does tell me that this seems a bit heavy. Same time, more intentional like highlight painting would probably serve you better doing something like this, but I don't want to. And I'm just looking for some of the benefit of having white tones without having to do it as much. I think that is a pretty respectful, quick and dirty Cortana. I haven't decided if I want to airbrush any blue onto the chip, but yeah, I don't know. To decide that at another point. Okay. Now this is still kind of splotchy. That's okay. Most part, gonna just let this do what it wants to do. I did pull a little bit of a heavy spot out of the eye, tiny little bit out of some of these other places, but for the most part, I'm just gonna let that dry because I kind of wanted like a good tan skin anyways. But that looks promising. So, leave this here. And maybe we go with a brown, like a dark brown. I could go with black, but that's a little uninteresting. You could use like this brownish, blackish color. Might look a little weird, but whatever. Just gonna wait for this to dry a little. I'm looking at the forearms because they have kind of like these attachments on the top of them. Just don't know if I feel like trying to pick those out, especially this one over here because it's got like straps that go around it, but it's not the clearest thing in the world. I do need to pick out the bottom of this helmet though. With a little bit of black so it's not as obvious. Whew. But yeah, if you guys want me to do more of these paint streams for Halo or whatever, just let me know. Hit that like button so I'm aware. And if you have any specific asks for what you want me to paint, let me know and I will try to get that done. But I am about to embark on what I assume is going to be a long Elder Scrolls painting journey. I mean, I've still got a bunch of other Spartans to paint, but there's an Elder Scrolls campaign that ends today. I should start getting files so I can start printing off all of that stuff from Modifius. Now they did a chapter 1 campaign, so you can get STLs for them officially, which is cool. And I'm in the process of working out, I think I want to do it as a video series of doing the settlement building in tandem with playing, and doing that as a video so it's not just completely taking up all of the Thursday stuff, but it'll give me a little bit of an opportunity to do maybe some fun with the editing, and we can still do our Thursday stuff as normal, and it's not going to have to be Elder Scrolls at all times. So, but there's going to be a lot of stuff to paint for that. I almost feel like the color of this ended up perfect, but it's like almost too dark, which is kind of weird. But it's part of trying to paint something that's solid to replicate what is a light up, transparent thing. Oh yeah, I think that skin worked out really, really well. I'm really happy with that. Or a one coat flesh shade over that. That's really good. We'll get hair in. And we'll use our little baby brush again. What's up, New? Man, New heard Elder Scrolls and just came running. Let that dry. So you've just been enjoying my bland conversation of mumbling to myself about mediocre painting strategies and Skittles eating. Did you uninstall your sci-fi game yet? Yeah, it's like a lo-fi Halo soundtrack. Y'all hear all those dings, which I don't think you should. My God, freaking Windows yelling at me. We could base coat some of this sword while we're sitting here. Plus, we still got 30-ish minutes. We should probably be able to finish this. Yeah, this is the Halo stuff is supposed to be non-copyright, but it's hit me before. So I don't know. This is a lo-fi Halo stuff, so we shall see. I'm just gonna take some white and try to squiggle on some stuff here. And this is my problem with trying to do this, is not being good at thinning paints enough to come off my brush and it still be like thin and visible. They also changed the sculpt of this energy sword because it is different than the one that comes in the Spartan edition. Try to get in some little bit of coloring on that. Okay, that's not bad. I could live with that. And what I absolutely don't do is anything on the bottom of it because I'll never see it. So, waste of my time. But now, if I remember correctly, I think we used Caribbean Ocean real thin. I think it was like a 3-to-1. If you want a more detailed breakdown of this, in the How to Paint Arbiter video, there's probably a better representation of how I did this. Because currently I'm trying to remember how I did it in that based off memory. So. And I think we want this to pull, we want it to almost settle toward the base so it gets fainter as it gets away from the base. So I'm going to put this on. Try to get all our coverage, and then I'm gonna purposefully tilt this back so it should theoretically get darker closer to the base. I'm gonna try to keep him in this orientation. Not that you'll really see this down here, but throw a little on there. Kind of see what I'm talking about right there. Pile on a little bit of extra down there at the bottom. And prop this guy as evenly tipped as I can get him so that that all settles straight down. And now we're just sitting here waiting again. So, well, hell, while I'm sitting here, I'm gonna throw some colors on these jars for Marvel Rivals bases, and will be what we do. So we'll get a red cup and get a yellow cup. And both of these little bottles can be, we'll use the color that we used for his hair, actually. Something smells really good. Yay, cups and stuff. Gosh. But once this energy sword dries, which looks dry enough, I feel like it's gonna dry a little too weird. But it is what it is at this point. I'm gonna tip him back down just to see if that wants to settle smidgen downward, but that's all right. But once we can, we'll go back through, we'll do a little bit more of the white lightning-y streaky over that, and then we'll do some like kind of edge highlighting on the outside edges just to give it more of that bright look. That's how I originally thought to do it, and that's how I've done it since. You know what? Y'all are right. I think I should open some more Skittles. Ah, they're mostly green. Well, those spots look set in their ways, so we will just continue. I'm not good at painting eyes, but this is something that I decided I was going to do, and I have done it ever since. I always paint faces. they're not great. I think those eyes look pretty close to being the same. And I'm gonna irresponsibly try to hit his teeth. Even if it's just a little, just to get a tiny little bit of color difference. And then I actually want a little bit of this red. On his tongue. Oh yeah. And I don't hardly ever use like black. I've been using this gris, like charcoal color. It is a very dark gray, almost black, and it's pretty smooth, so I use it often if I need regular black paint. But now, for the hard part. Getting pupils in here and not making him look cross-eyed. Okay, well, you know what? He's certainly not looking in the direction that he probably should be looking, but they're evenly looking in the wrong direction. He's like, you know, I don't know what he's looking at, but a normal human could look that way. He's just glancing off to his left for some reason. Who's to say? We don't know. But I'm happy with that face. He's actually got teeth and a tongue and skin that looks mostly fine. I just gotta wait for my poor decision making down here to settle. Went a little heavy. But, you know. To be fair, this could be a snapshot in time of him yelling at somebody off to his left slightly. And I only mostly hate what has happened down here with these. Kind of tempted to see if it'll blend it any. Make it any less obvious, but that's okay. And then these bases all get the same treatment. And I think for the sake of consistency, I'll probably do them all exactly the same. That way, if you mix and match and take them, you're not gonna have like half the models look different than the others. And they're all getting kind of like a tan earth. That'll be easier, I think, to do at least 2 different batches instead of doing them one at a time. But again, if you want to know how I do that, it's also in the Arbiter painting video, because they're all done the same. Give that just a second to dry. Yeah, these unhelmeted ones I'm actually kind of excited to paint. Got this guy. Which I don't know what that mouth sculpt is, but it's pretty terrible. But it is what it is. I messed up the other head, so that was the one I had access to. And then our shotgun woman. Really looking to. I like these a lot. They just seem so much more like interesting to look at to me than like who is this? We don't know. Could be a robot. Who's to say? But specifically, I think it just adds a little bit more character.
Why
do these?
do nice people choose the wrong people to date?
I only did 3 of 8.
We accept the love we think we deserve.
Just because.
Can we make them know that?
But I do kind of wish I had done some of the original ones like that. But again, I didn't think about it until I saw somebody else do it on the Reddit, and I was like, you know what, that is a good idea. And I looked at my parts thing, and I had some Age of Sigmar heads that worked pretty close. What is this? What are you? That's not what we wanted. Any day. Back on the loop where you belong. Dang, that energy. Energy sword. It's pain. It's suffering. But get some more lightning streaks on here. Somehow I think the first ever iteration I did of this was probably the best. And it's just been downhill ever since. But now I'm just going to take the same white and just like go around. Kind of final guy. Again, if you want to be super specific, you on this model specifically, you probably should paint the bottom side just because of the weird angle he's holding it. But again, you're playing like up and just kind of moving them around. You're probably not going to see it, but technically, like if you were to take pictures of him, it's going to be in shadow, and that doesn't really make sense because it's transparent. So, but I do not care that much. So I'm just using some Gravelord gray, and I'm gonna gray in this handle. And I think that does it. And the weird dark spots on the energy sword mostly blended in by the time it was all said and done. But I think that's gonna do it for our Carter inspired kind of first Spartan of the Wave 2 pack. Got 2 more helmetless people if we want to do that. I'm kind of feeling this one. Maybe we'll do this one next Monday again. And I'll peck away at the Elder Scrolls stuff in between, and we could just do some Halo painting for the next little bit. If you have preferences or anything, you have to let me know. But not even 2 hours, and we got our Cortana for our counter done. Oh wait, pop her back in there when I'm ready. Now I feel like she's supposed to look like this, but wouldn't it make more sense to put her like this? That way you'd have the dice like here and here. But I feel like that looks weird. I don't know. But for 2 hours time, I call that a good day's work. If a day was 2 hours. So pop her back on here because she's gonna get a clear coat, and so is he. I don't clear things that have metallic on them, but these guys, they can be clear coated. So yeah, so that's gonna do it for this one. We'll be back. We'll paint some more next Monday unless something changes between now and then, but that's gonna do it for today. We will be back on Thursday. We're gonna play some Elder Scrolls, and that's all I got. All right, I appreciate all y'all sitting here and hanging out. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it, and again, if you want anything specific painted, you'll have to let me know, but that's gonna do it for today. All right, I appreciate you guys being here. I will see y'all on Thursday. Bye, guys.
The power of the dark side.